Welcome to Simply Stogies After Dark. I am your host, one of the guys here. My name is James. If you're not familiar with who I am or what you're watching, that's me. And to my immediate left there is Tim. Tim, how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing very good. How are you?
I'm doing all right. If you're unfamiliar with what After Dark is, Simply Stogies After Dark is our once a month live show we do on YouTube, Facebook, Rumble, and Instagram. If you're watching on Instagram, we can't see your comments, so go look at our Facebook page. It's same thing, whatever. And you can comment there. We'll see your comments. They'll pop up, and it's all good in the hood, as we used to say back in the hood, because it was good. But look, this is the show. It's laid back. We have guests on sometime. Like next month, we've got guests for you. We'll get to that later. But this is a show where our supporters, our Elite Club members, can join the show live. They can jump on. They can have conversations with us. You can join the Elite Club. Go to simplystogies.com. Click the Elite Club at the top right corner of the page there. It's $10 a month, $100 a year, and you too can join us, like our friend Lou Cross from Lure Cigars. My friend, welcome back to Simply Stogies After Dark.
Hey Tim. Hey James.
Nice to see you, buddy. I need to apologize to people for I'm having internet issues. I have a technician coming out from my ISP on Sunday. To come look at this, as we've been having issues for the last couple of weeks with upload speeds. Not so much download, just the upload side of it. So, with all of that said, Tim, I think that maybe what we ought to do, if you are amenable to it, my friend, is talk about our sponsors for this episode. In this episode,
that's a good idea.
It is, right? I thought it was probably a good way to start the show. This episode of Simply Stogies After Dark is brought to you by smallbatchcigar.com. Go to smallbatchcigar.com. Look, tis the season. It is now the day after Halloween. It's time to buy yourself what you wanted, because you know your spouse, your loved one, those people in your life who know that you're a cigar smoker. They're going to buy you what is objectively shit sticks, because they don't know any better, and that's fine, but you do. Do you know why you do? Because you shop at smallbatchcigar.com. When you use coupon code Stogies, you're going to get 10% off your order, plus a bonus 5% reward points. And we've been talking about this since June, so you should have stocked up quite a bit in reward points. Now go buy yourself something nice. Treat yourself at smallbatchcigar.com. Use code Stogies, 10% off your order, bonus 5% reward points. Plus, it's always free shipping, and the shipping is just plain magical. It's magical. It shows up to your door in days via the United States Postal Service, which is insane to me, because I sent some things to our good friend Lou via the United States Postal Service, and I paid for 2-day shipping, and it took 5 days to get there. No, almost a week, 6 days. He just got it today. I shipped it on Saturday of last week. He just got it today. But smallbatch.com, they've got magic with USPS. So that's where you need to go for all of your cigar needs. Smallbatchcigar.com. Aficionados know, enthusiasts know, and now you know. Smallbatchcigar.com. And of course, this episode of After Dark is also brought to you by Lure Cigars. Lure Cigars. We're going to throw this up there. The brown E-Trout is, just look at that picture. If that doesn't make you hungry, I don't know what will. That's a sexy looking cigar. And the brownie isn't half bad either. But to be honest, there's fewer calories in that cigar. And this is the brown E-Trout, the latest catch and release offering from Lure Cigars. It's a premium 6x54 box pressed Toro, featuring a delicious dark chocolate brown Mexican San Andreas Maduro wrapper over Nicaraguan binder and filler tobaccos. The strength of this cigar is on the deeper side of medium plus and is full flavored. Your palate will experience notes of chewy, well done corner fudge brownie, light cinnamon, and warm, earthy notes. This cigar produces a thick smoke with a velvety mouthfeel in the last third. That's just a bit of espresso and hints of pleasant baking spice on the finish. Let me tell you a little story. This is a true story. Somebody lit this up in a lounge recently, and somebody in the lounge that wasn't smoking the brownie trout went, "Who's baking brownie?" And looking around, going, who brought in the easy bake oven? The brownie trout. It's out now. Find a retailer near you. Go to lurecigars.com. They've got a whole list of them. If you're unsure where to purchase it, that's where you want to get it. Lou, are these still available? Is it all sold out?
No, they're still out there in the wild. There are a few packs at the list of retailers, as you mentioned, on our contact page. And we have still a few more in the warehouse. So we'd love to have people get out there and try it. It has been getting a great series of feedback. Everybody that has smoked it has really loved the cigar, and it's been great. We've been very, very excited about it. I'm a big San Andreas fan, and when I smoked the San Andreas Maduro box press, it was just something magical. So go out there and get it, and let us know what you think.
There you go. Let them know what you think. But I've had it. It's very good, and I've got a bundle back there. I almost busted that out tonight, but I didn't. Lou, what are you already smoking? What are you smoking, buddy?
Yeah, I didn't wait for the snip, cut, whatever it is. I cut another one, but I'm smoking a test blend that's coming from the factory it's a new box press Habano blend, just to try something different. So I figured, live show, see how it goes. So far it's smoking pretty well.
Yeah, what kind of tasting notes are you? I'm always curious about the tasting notes, especially on like test blend. Like, what are you what are you picking up on that, my friend?
There's a lot of leather in this. This is Habano, but it's a darker Habano. I don't know if you could tell, the lighting here kind of sucks, but there's some really nice spice on this cigar. I'm in maybe the first third, and it's just got a kind of a light cocoa, just a little bit of chocolate, like a milk chocolatey. But this is stuff coming on. The construction is on point. Real excited about it. So this is something that's going to come in, future project, maybe next year, whatever. But anytime they send up something, it's always an exciting thing to try something new.
Nice. I'm definitely looking forward to it. But now, like, it's time for Tim and I to clip our cigars. We can't clip our cigars until we play this. It's time to clip our cigars because you can't clip my wings, but you can clip my cigars. Brought to you by Blackbird Cigar Company. Blackbird Cigar Company. That's actually what I'm smoking tonight. Is a Blackbird. I'm going to be smoking the Superb, as you can see right there. This is a Habano wrapper over undisclosed binder and fillers. I'm actually smoking the Robusto Gordo, which is 5x54. It's a medium profile. You can look. You can this on smallbatchcigar.com. But Blackbird cigars, you can't clip my wings, but you certainly kind of have to clip the cigar if you want to smoke it. So we want to thank Blackbird for all of their support. Tim, what did you say you were smoking?
I didn't actually, and it makes me a little embarrassed. I mean, and it's not your fault. I do it to myself. I get that. It's completely understandable. But I'm in that position where I'm trying to smoke through some of my stash that I've had sitting around for a little bit. So for cigar number one, I picked up a Dream Hunter. I believe that's by Warped Cigars.
Yep.
So this is the first one I've had in probably a year plus. So I really don't know what to tell you about it right now.
No, you're fine. I actually smoked one of those recently. I have a whole box of them that I hadn't cracked open that I'd been sitting on for probably about a year.
Right. I think we probably got our box around the same time.
About the same time, probably for the same reason. And I was not. It wasn't my favorite cigar. It wasn't my least favorite cigar, but I think the rest has done it well. I don't know. Lou, have you smoked a Dream Hunter lately?
Remember,
not lately. I smoked several of them. I've got a couple boxes in there because I was a fan of that cigar. But I tell you, I have not smoked the Superb by Blackbird.
Well,
I haven't had that one yet either.
I wish you would have said that before I sent out the stuff to you.
The box that you paid 2 days shipping for and took 5 days to get 5 days. Like, how can you justify charging me for 2 days shipping when it takes 5 days? That doesn't.
I was just happy it arrived.
Well, if you send it now, I can get it by Christmas. So
yeah, right. Yeah, you can try it. You can try the Superb before Christmas. And look, before we get too far into this, guys, next month for the show, and I'll remind you guys at the end of the program, but next month we're going to be talking about a brand new Blackbird cigar. It's a shop exclusive somewhere and we're going to have someone on from smokingpipes.com, Tyler Caldwell. And Tyler's going to tell us all about the Flamingo, which is the new one that's coming out. So join us next December 6th for the live, and it'll be a good time. But today I was kind of hoping some more of the LE Club was going to be on, but the audience at home, if you're watching on Facebook or Rumble or YouTube, or at least YouTube and Facebook for sure, when you if you comment there on the lives, like we'll see it here. But we want to talk a little bit, and I know everyone and their mothers talked about this, so we're a little behind the 8 ball just because of how we do things. But we want to talk a little bit about this consumer membership that the PCA came out with last month. This would have been the middle of the month, so it's only a couple of weeks old. It's not like we're that far behind. But the nature of our show is we don't talk news, right? We have interviews with interesting people in and around the industry, and we kind of let them know, and let our audience know what they're all about and their story, and we try to keep it interesting and find out about them. I mean, the interview with Lou was phenomenal, if I don't say so myself. It was really good, and we try to do that with everybody. It's just to shine a light on them and what they're doing.
There's been a lot of good interviews lately, and more to come too. Spoiler.
Yeah. Like today, the interview with Hector Alfonso Sr. from Espinosa Cigars is out there in the wild. Go check that out. I really enjoyed that interview a lot. That was the first interview where my internet issue started, which would have been October 9th. So that it's less than a month, and I'm getting it taken care of as best I can. But that was a really good interview with him, and finding out, like, we recorded the After Dark last night.
Yeah, we did.
And Tim had some quotes from that episode that are pretty noteworthy, as well as some ones. Yeah, as well as some so movie references. It was good stuff. Let's digress. Let's talk about news. This is our one chance a month to kind of talk about the news and what's going on in the industry without putting people on the hot seat. And I'm certainly Lou, you can speak your piece on this if you want. I think it'd be interesting to hear a manufacturer's perspective on this. But if you're unfamiliar, if you are uninitiated into what this PCA, Premium Cigar Association's consumer membership is all about, they announced 2 new membership tiers, one for businesses and one for consumers, that is supposed to broaden the organization's membership roster and their revenue. Of course, their revenue. It's part of the new PCA alliance. The concept for this is, that you're going to be allies. You're in the fight. You're in the trenches with the PCA. You're in there fighting big bad government, and they are. The government's bad, and they're right. Big. I'm not a fan of government, but who's going to pave our roads? I don't give a fuck. Nobody will. Just privatize that shit. Jesus Christ, fucking, it's not hard. So, it's supposed to give people the happy, warm fuzzies, like, I'm helping the cigar industry. And I think we've all seen how that worked out with the CRA and with how they do things. So the Consumer Alliance is $99 a year, $100 a year. Now, if you're a business that's like adjacent, right, which I'm surprised they're not charging media this, to be 100% honest with you. It's $250 if you're a business. And we would be at Cigar Media. We would be the obvious target for this because we're adjacent to them, and we're kind of in the same industry. But I think what they're looking at is vape shop owners or attorneys. I don't even know who they're going after. It doesn't really matter. But here's the thing: for the consumer, It's $100 a year. It isn't much. It's if we could play the Sarah McLachlan in the eyes in the arms of an angel, it's less than a cup of coffee. Every day. Yeah. And you too can you know what I'm saying? Like, it's just, how much harder can the PCA fucking shill? And what do you get if you're a consumer, right? That
was my question, is what do you get? Because the majority of consumers, in my mind, and I'm just speaking from a few historical events with an organization, the consumer wants something for their money. They don't want to just give it to you.
Look, I've got no problem saying it. And you guys can go back and listen to the Pete Johnson interview that Tim and Nick did last year. But this is what the CRA was trying to do. And you joined the CRA and they would, you got nothing unless they were running some kind of special. Now, they sell cigars, right? The CRA sampler for this fall is already out. It's out there in the wild.
Right.
You can go pick it up. Is there anything special in there, interesting in there? No, but what do you get? You get a automatic membership for a year to the CRA, which means exactly fuck all, other than you're giving them money to help, again, fight big bad government, the FDA. So, the only entities before this that were eligible to join the PCA in any kind of form or fashion were, cigar shops, distributors, suppliers, media, which we don't even have to join them now. We can if we choose to, but we don't have to. So we don't have to pay that. But we still have to pay to get into the show. We got to pay for a badge, $150. We get 2 badges and $150 for every badge above that. But here's the big thing: they're not going to get trade show access. Not the business side, not the consumer side. They're not going to get trade show access. Instead, they're going to get a PCA the magazine. Which, okay,
like a print magazine.
A print magazine, yeah, a print magazine. I don't know,
really.
Maybe it's a doctor's office.
You sure it's a print magazine and not just like a really beefed up PDF or something like that?
I have copies of it. They send one.
Oh, you do? Okay, so it is
it's a real legit like print magazine. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So how much does that cost?
It's $100 a year. I don't know. How much does it cost? I wish I knew. So you get a copies of that. You get access to the PCA's member communications and training courses, which I guess, if you're a consumer, do you give a fuck how they're training retailers? I don't know. Maybe if you're really in the weeds of retail. I worked retail.
Yeah,
I was retail management for 30 years. I didn't give a fuck. So a training course and then various affiliate discounts that the PCA has access to, but no trade show access. So I kind of want to go around the horn here. And nobody watching has commented on this yet. I want to know your guys', I want to know your folks' thoughts on this PCA consumer thing. I know it's been talked about ad nauseum for the past couple of weeks. But I think you guys can already tell what I think of it. But Lou, from a manufacturer's perspective, what do you think of this?
Well, first and foremost, I'm a consumer first. I've always said that. And I always have the FOMO of what's going on at the trade show. Wouldn't it be awesome to be able to try the next cigar and hear this stuff, right? So I've been very dependent on media or my retailers before I had a cigar company to go out and bring back what's new. It gave a lot of respect to the people who take their time and money to go out to the show as retailers and bring the new stuff back. And you'd hope that they would be cigar enthusiasts also, not just looking to see what's going to sell, but also get stuff that's exciting and interesting. And they would bring it back from the show, or they would tell things that, if you had a great relationship with a retailer, they might be able to even message you while they're there and say, God, I just smoked a great cigar. Can't wait to try this kind of thing. So I think that from a consumer standpoint, everybody wishes they could go walk the trade floor and smoke the next great thing. But I have been more aware in the last year from a manufacturing standpoint that they're there to conduct business, and the manufacturers are there to conduct business. And media does a great job to go get the message. And I'm going to say media in general. There are criticisms of some of the more ephemeral media sources that don't necessarily have a great journalism effort or whatever. They're there just to be able to be there and whatever, but not to take anything away from anybody. But at the same time, they can be a distraction from the business of doing business at the trade show. The whole purpose of the trade show is for manufacturers to get in touch with as many retailers as possible to buy their products. Now, do you wish you could go around and sample the cigars? Absolutely, from a consumer standpoint, but that's not the purpose of the show. You can go to Big Smoke, you can go to my old Kentucky Herf, you can go to all these other cigar events that are out there, and you can try to cigars and do that. That's for the consumer. So it's never been something that I've said that should have consumers there that aren't there to buy volumes and put orders in for shows, for shops that are going to basically have their stock for the year. Having said that, I'm going to be a first-time manufacturer, first-time booth presence at the trade show this next year, and I'm making a considerable investment. It is not cheap to go and have a presence at the PCA. It's thousands of dollars on top of the time, on top of the cigars that you're going to be bringing to be able to sample and have people try your stuff and be able to go out there. And I'm anticipating there to be a lot of traffic at the booth. And if I had to divide my attention and time, I love people. I love connecting with the consumer. I connect with the consumer on social media. I connect with the consumer through events. I connect with the consumer, through other venues, smoking other cigars at other shops and things. I don't want to miss an opportunity to meet with the consumers, but at the end of the day, there's just not enough time and resources to be able to address the needs of the retailers that are there putting up their hard-earned money, because it's not cheap for them to go to the show either. And also have to be, divided in the attention for the consumers and have samples of cigars, because I don't sell direct to consumer, so I'm not in a position where I can sell directly to the individual. I don't want to take that away from the retail partners. So I think it's a terrible idea to have consumers. As much as I'm a consumer first and would love to try what's new, that's not what this show is about.
Okay, so but is this $99 as a consumer? So as a consumer, is $99 a year worth it to kind of feel like you're part of the fight? You're part of the
no.
Yeah.
I'll be honest with you. I don't know enough about the consumer side of things. I know it's expensive to hire very talented lobbyists and attorneys and people that are going to fight the fight against regulation and against restrictions and against things that make our hobby more challenging and make our hobby more expensive. There are a considerable amount of the cost of a cigar goes to pay for regulatory and taxes, in terms of that's there. So if there's a way for me to support an organization that I have confidence that they have the ability to go out there and lobby on behalf of me as a consumer, I could see there being value. But I think, isn't there, like the CRA, pick a lane? At some point you've got to understand who has got the most influence over the people that are making the laws and the rules that govern our industry. And I don't know enough about PCA. I'm not trying to my opinion is I'd have to be convinced as a consumer that my $100 was going towards true action to be taken to make my cigar hobby more, protected. I don't see $100 for that. I mean, the CRA is something that I'm a member of because I'm a member of the SNS group for Tatuaje.
Right.
And Pete Johnson's got a part of the annual membership of SNS. We become members of the CRA. And so I feel that I get enough information and that they seem to be communicating. I see nothing right now. I mean, this may be a new initiative and a new endeavor for PCA to put it out there, but you tell me. You've been around PCA a lot longer than I have. Do they do a good job to advocate on behalf of the industry?
Yeah, I think they do, but we're gonna have to get into the weeds of this a little bit. And you're right. I do need to give props to Pete and the CRA when you do join, like Lou said, the SNS, which is by invite only. It's not something you can just be like, oh, I want to go do that. I'll be a part of the SNS club. No, you can't. Saints and Sinners, it's closed, baby. It's closed. You got to get an invite from somebody in the know, somebody there. And I have friends in high places. I was able to get in last year. This is this year's challenge coin, and you do get the CRA. Now, here's my problem with all of this. CRA, PCA, all of it, is I don't think that it's very transparent where this money goes and how this money is used. Like, how is it divvied up, right? Tim, you had a conversation last year in August, I believe it was, with Pete Johnson while I was on the road. You and Nick.
A long time ago.
That was a long time ago. But you and I were both CRA ambassadors,
right.
Cigar Rights of America. We were ambassadors for that. We're no longer ambassadors for that. I don't even know if the ambassador program is still happening.
Yeah, I don't think it is, but
there's a lot of questions out there about where this money goes with the CRA. And like, since this is new with the PCA, I'm going to give them a pass on that for right now, because haven't really had a chance to be transparent with it. But with the CRA, I'd like to know where that money's going, and that was never really addressed. And now, what are your thoughts on this PCA? And then we'll kind of break down the differences between the PCA and the CRA, and why whether this is going to work or not.
Yeah, I mean, just in the first few minutes here, I mean, Lou, you've had a lot of great points, and I know James is kind of being the judge, jury, and executioner here, and trying to get us to say things. Yeah. But I think it's important for the consumer who enjoys cigars to be a part of legislature and Congress and the fight, supporting the fight and becoming a member of an organization that does that. But I agree with everybody's going to want something for their money. It seems like a lot of people historically, that they want their cigars, or, okay, I give you $100, you give me what I feel like $100 or more worth of cigars is. We're happy for a year. I was always that type of guy where I'm like, okay, I'm going to give you $100 as a consumer. I just want communication. I just want, like, even if I get that weekly email that I'm like, oh, cool, I got an email from this organization. I don't really care right now. So I just delete it. But at least I'm getting some sort of communication. And there's nothing that frustrated me more than when I gave money. And as an ambassador, I was asked to do something, but I felt like it was always me giving, and I never received anything back. And I'm not asking for free cigars. I'm just asking to feel like I'm a part of something. And when I give you $100 or $200 or whatever that is as a consumer, and I get nothing but crickets, like, I think I'm a member. When is my membership even due? Like, how does that work? Like, there's just so many unknowns. You've got my money and now I'm nobody. I think that's what frustrates me about a lot of these organizations. And so I think that if they do it, I think it's great. I think that consumers should have the ability to put some money into fighting the good fight. Man, communicate with them. You don't have to be transparent to me. You don't have to tell me where every single little dollar goes. That's not my business. What my business is that, hey, I'm being acknowledged as a member of the fight. That's what's important to me. And as we go on, I'm going to have some more talking points, but that's kind of where I'm at right
now. No, I think that's a valid point. I think consumers want to be heard, and I think they do. Go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, if you take $100, it's an annual membership, and you divide that by 12, it's less than $10 a month or whatever it is. So what do you expect? What's the expectation for $10? And
Sure.
If I was able to get a summary, which would have, and this would require the PCA to go to the manufacturers and give a list of all their cigars and what is new, what's existing, what is new, what's coming, and they were able to provide a summary of what happened at the trade show, in addition to all the other seminars and other such that they put together, that's fine. And I would say that's worth $100 to me as a consumer that really likes cigars. I would love to see them, and it doesn't have to be a print piece because printing is expensive. It could be an online, members only area that I could go, and it would inspire me to go and pay attention to see what else is out there, and kind of have a shopping list for the next 12 months. That would be one thing that I would say would be worth $100 value.
Sure, that's another thing, and I'll add on to that because we're always, especially last year, when we saw that the PCA trade show or the PCA kind of started, they brought in their own media group, their own people doing, little bits and pieces and articles and stuff. So I can see them utilizing that as a catalyst to say, hey, we're going to publish this stuff that we create to our supporters, our consumer supporters first, before it goes out to everybody and anybody. I mean,
Sure.
And I'm just trying to put a big piece to the puzzle. Well, why did the PCA do this differently? Why did they add this to what they do? And then later you find out, oh, okay, they're trying to incorporate this. They're trying to incorporate that. What I would be scared about is if this is like, hey, okay, let's see if we can get 100 members and then 500 members and then 1,000 members and then 2,000 members. And then you have so many members that then you start pushing the manufacturers to say, hey, we're going to add a consumer day to the trade show.
Ooh.
And I don't think that that's a good idea.
Yeah, no.
Because that is a business trip for brick and mortars and for manufacturers to conduct business, get the new products in their hands, make sales. That's what that's for. You want to go trick-or-treating, there's a whole nother thing that goes on for that.
Yeah, I think that's a non-starter. I don't think that's ever going to happen because the manufacturers would push back on that.
And as they should.
Who's got the stock? And no offense, but I'm trying to meet the needs of my retailers to go nationwide and make sure that they have enough stock in their humidor so that when people go in there and ask for Lure cigars, do you carry them? Well, yes. If I've got to take into account another 500 people walking the floor, that's another whole batch of cigars, and I'm not set up for retail. How is that supposed to work? I mean, that would be a disaster.
Yeah.
Well,
I agree.
I hate to say it, but you're the little guy.
It's just as bad for the big guy. Look, so there's a couple things at play here.
But the big guys can support it, though. It hurts them, but they can still support it.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Look, so there's a couple things at play here that I want to make sure I don't lose my train of thought here. The first is that when you did sign up to become a CRA member, which I think you could still do that at as the Burly Boar says, what up, Lou? From on their website, which is cigarrightsofamerica.org, if I remember right. Tim, can you look that up for me real quick?
What do you need me to look at?
What the CRA website is. When you sign up, you used to get 2 cigars. They would send you 2 cigars. But if you were out and about at an event that was staffed by a CRA ambassador, you didn't get anything. You signed up, and then they would send you the 2 cigars. And I think everyone, all 3 of us, know that when you go to a cigar event, you expect cigars. It doesn't matter what you're doing, you expect cigars. Like, that's right, wrong, or indifferent.
Their website is cigarrights.org.
Cigarrights.org. So there you go. You can join the fight there if you so choose. The other piece to this is, Tim, you had mentioned you just want something, and if they were to send out, and honestly, the CRA was terrible about this, especially with their ambassadors. Send out, hey, where we're at. This is where we're at in the fight. This is what's going on this month. Right? This is what happened last month. This is what's going on this month. These are the fights that we had. These are the meetings that we've had with people. Like, how hard is it to sit down and write, I don't know, a 4-paragraph email outlining the meetings you've had with senators and congressmen, the meetings that lobbyists have had, the meetings that you may have had with some congressional group, some congressional hearing, the FDA. Like, how hard is it to do that? I don't think it's very hard, but the communication piece was objectively just terrible with the CRA. And I'm not trying to throw shade at the PCA, but I don't think the PCA is going to be much better at that.
Yeah, they put that stuff on their website, or at least they used to, and it would be super easy to automate that and have the website send out to their distribution list, and it would look like, hey, this is what's new, this is what's changed. But you would have to go out and either manually look like, hey, I'm interested, what's going on today, or at one point, I think you could actually subscribe to a specific thread, like, hey, I want to know what's going on in my state, subscribe to my state, and it would push stuff out to you. But I had to manually initiate that. It wasn't a courtesy that they could have easily implemented.
And I would hazard a guess to say that most consumers, and you guys can correct me if you think I'm wrong, but I would hazard a guess that most consumers would rather have cigars than a monthly newsletter. Most, not all, most.
Sure.
So the best way to support the CRA is to buy their samplers that they put out every year, or every what they put it out in the fall and the spring, I think, or the fall and the summer. I don't know.
Yeah.
But they put it out a couple times a year. Go buy that. Go buy the CRA sampler. You get a CRA membership, and you get a bunch of cigars at a discounted price. Like, it is a discounted price, right? Now, Here's the difference between, for those not in the know, the difference between the CRA and the PCA. The CRA is all driven by manufacturers. That's who drives the CRA, manufacturers. So their agenda is manufacturers. The PCA is all driven by retailers. It is a retail trade organization. That's who drives it. So their agenda is from the retailer's point of view. And then, of course, there's the CAA. And the CAA is essentially like STG and El Tadas. It's just big tobacco. And though they're not going after consumers. They're not going after.
Where's the consumer?
There is no consumer trade organization when it comes to tobacco, as far as I can tell. If somebody knows of one, let me know. But I think the CRA was trying to do that for 5, 6, 7, 10 years, whatever the case was, and it just never took off.
Yeah, but let me ask you, and this goes back to Ish and his group that they're trying to get off, Gabby and the rest of the people, that TPA.
Yeah, I think so.
You had them on a few After Darks ago. People want to go and listen to that whole presentation. Was that not also kind of, wasn't there a consumer side to their, at least in their early planning, to have a consumer presence as part of their mission?
I don't know, to be honest with you, Lou. I would have to go back and listen, and I'm going to be completely honest here and transparent. I like Ish. I think he's a good dude. Bam Cigars, the great cigars. Like it, and he's a genuine guy. And I really wanted to support them, but when I went to go to sign up on their website, like, there was nothing on the website, and it was, I know it was super early, it's not. There's not. It's still early. And there was supposed to be some sort of TPA trade show in October. He was talking that never came to fruition. I never heard anything on that. This is not easy to do. What the PCA does, what the CRA does, what the CAA does. This is not easy to do.
No. I've been involved in trade shows, from another trade association, from a past life and a past career, that there's a ton of work. I mean, there's 12 months of work with many, many, many volunteers working to make things happen. You pulling off a trade show, pulling off an event is not like pulling off a cut and light or pulling off a cigar event at a lounge. It's a big deal. And I respect the fact of how much work is involved in that, but there's an opportunity here that if these organizations, you can't have many masters. So if the CRA is manufacturer driven and the PCA is retailer driven, I don't think that splitting their attention to the consumer. I mean, ultimately, what would be the things that a consumer would be most concerned about? One is access to cigars. And the only way you can get cigars is by way of retail. And they'd be concerned about price. What are those organizations going to do to help the consumer? Well, indirectly, they're going to help the manufacturers by limiting regulation, limiting taxes, limiting oversight, and limiting restrictions to entry for tobacco products to come in from the different places where they're made outside of the country. I get it. But from a consumer standpoint, what can an organization do? What would be the top concerns for a consumer that a trade organization would need to be, or a lobbying entity would need to lobby on behalf of the consumer?
The only two things I can think of, I think you've already mentioned, which are access and price, which just boils down to taxes.
But well, I will throw one more other thing in there, is that state to state, there are restrictions, not from a national level, but from a state to state issue, where you can smoke, lounges, what can they do from it would require a quite a diverse effort to go into states that, and maybe you pick the states that are most heavily regulated, to be able to go in there and try to advocate on behalf of lounges and other things, which is still a retail environment. But you would get my support as a consumer if it made it easier for me to be able to go to a place and enjoy a cigar. I'm on my porch right now and I smoke in my porch, and I'm very fortunate to have a few lounges in Tallahassee between Jerry's and Fuma and other places that I can go smoke a cigar without having to worry about things. But there are states that you can't even smoke inside. Illinois and New York, California, they've got some really heavy restrictions on tobacco use. So I would step up, and I would, as a consumer, even in Florida where I have more freedom as a cigar smoker, I would support an organization. And if it was $100 a year, or whatever the number was, if I knew that they were making an effort to make it better for me as a consumer to be able to go and enjoy a cigar somewhere.
The problem, and you're not wrong, Lou. Let me just say that you're not wrong. I think and state advocacy has become a huge concern and a huge focal point for the PCA. I would say in the last 5 to 6 years. Yeah. And they're certainly trying to do that. They now have this year an advocacy group specifically for the state of Iowa. They're on the board for the PCA Iowa chapter. They're doing trainings for them. Like, the PCA is very active on the state level. So
I'd support that then.
Okay. Is this a precursor that, this is the big question that everybody has, I think. Is this a precursor to letting consumers, having a consumer day at the trade show I think you totally cut out this idea that they're going to walk the floor. There's not enough time. It's so expensive for hotels, for the booth rental, for all the things that a manufacturer is going to put in to be able to have the attention of the hundreds of retailers that are walking the floor to buy cigars. I think instead, like what the CRA has done, maybe the PCA would benefit from going around to the retailers. I know Tatuaje does it. I know there's several other brands that have a PCA exclusive cigar. Maybe instead of doing for the consumer to get their $100, or maybe even make it $200 or $250 or whatever the number is that they get a select number of retailers. I would support, manufacturers, not retailers, a select number of manufacturers to create a cigar, or to put a cigar that is maybe not PCA exclusive, but be representative of the brand, to put it in a pack that would be something that would be released at PCA, and to have a 10, 15, 20 count cigar. And they would make it part of their marketing in terms of to the consumer, that they, as a member of the PCA, as a consumer, you would have access to a selection of cigars that would be procured in advance, and they would be issued and sent out after the show at some point. And that way I would feel like I'm getting something for my money, and not have to worry about the logistics of going down, or to New Orleans or Vegas or wherever it ends up being, and doing that. That is something that's much more economical. What if it looks something like this? Like, there's always, like, there's ways to do things. Like, there's what do they say? There's 100 ways to skin a cat. What if, Lou, there was a consumer day one day, and they treated it like a zoo, like a high-end zoo, and you had just bear with me here, and you had a tour guide, okay, essentially a tour guide, and that guide would walk in, like, let's say, optimistically, they get 300 consumers that'll pay, and let's say they up it from $100 to $400 for the year. But for that $400, you get access to the trade show for one day, and you get to walk in, and this tour guide walks you around, and you get to see the booths, right? And you get to interact with several, not everyone, several high profile manufacturers. So let's just say Pete Johnson would be one. Jonathan Drew. Jonathan Drew would be another. Rocky Patel would be one. Maybe Steve Saka, Nick Melillo. It literally, it's like 5 to 10 minutes at each booth, right? But then they file the consumers away into one of these conference rooms, these large conference rooms, and they sit everybody down. They feed them lunch, right? They bring lunch in for them, and then there's like I don't want to say a keynote speaker, but there's a speaker, and whether that's or a panel of speakers where they talk about what they're doing with their money, right? And then they get like a five cigar PCA pack. Like, how hard would that be to figure out, right? Like how difficult would that really be for the PCA to figure out how to do that legally, to get them 5 cigars, all PCA exclusive, and they get to sit down, and then they have this panel, and after the panel's over, where they talk about advocacy, they talk about maybe rolling cigars, maybe there's somebody comes in and talks about blending, right? And so there's this big thing, and so they kind of get a little bit of the feel of what retailers get to experience at the trade show, what manufacturers get to experience at the trade show. 20-30 meet and greet where whoever from this panel is going down, shaking hands, kissing babies, and then out of here. And everyone's happy. Is that possible? Would you pay? You've been to the show. You know what it's like. You know how crazy and hectic it would be. But is that something that as a consumer you would pay money for? If it's a limited number of spots, you're going to get some FaceTime with people. You're going to get, 5 exclusive cigars for the, PCA exclusives. Is that something you would pay for, or is this just a pipe dream that I had sitting here?
How much is the CRA pack? It's not
a CRA pack right now is $100. It's $100. Oh, the CRA. No, it's what, like 180, 150?
Yeah, it's 200.
Something like that. Yeah.
Is it 200?
Like
yeah,
200.
Between 150 to 200. But you get, I think it's like
there's 10 cigars or something like that.
10 15 cigars. Yeah, it's sometimes like there was a Padron Black in there one year, and there's always an Oliva V,
Fuente,
Bolaño V, Fuente, usually a Shark. So it's a really good pack. Would you rather do that, or would you rather? Because like, here's the thing: you're going to spend $400 on this membership to go to the trade show. You're only going to get, let's say, 5 cigars, and that's being generous, right? You're only going to get 5 cigars. You're going to get limited FaceTime. Plus, you got to pay for travel. You got to pay for food. You got to pay for a hotel if you don't live in the area. Like, which would you rather do? I personally, I would say just go buy the CRA pack, because the trade show.
Well, that's why buy the PCA pack. Buy the PCA pack. I think.
Well, but your hardcore consumer, like your cigar smoker that has the extra money, and let's say they pay the $100 a year for the membership, and then let's just say that, hey, it's $150 limited, to 300 spots. We have 10,000 consumers, 300 spots, first come first serve, $150 for the day pass, or whatever it is. So there's an additional cost on top of just paying the $100, and then you get to go to your zoo day.
Well, yeah, I said it was like $400, right? I said
okay,
like like you're
so
paying.
That still makes sense, but I still think it's going to be a cluster. You're still going to have manufacturers that are going to complain because you're taking them away. You're asking them to take time away from the floor.
It's not just manufacturers that are going to complain. It's going to be the retailers that are going to complain. Now, the retailers were complaining about media last year without being able to give specific examples, saying that we were bogarting the time of these manufacturers. Now, we get in and we get out. You guys have seen the videos. You can go to YouTube. If you're watching it, you can look at some of these. They're 10, 15 minutes long. We're not there.
The amount of times that a customer, a retailer has walked into the booth and we recognize them and we're like, hey, we're going to leave. We'll take off. See you later. Get to business. It's actually kind of funny.
We do that a lot
all the time.
what you're starting to see now is you're starting to see manufacturers kind of hone in on what we're doing for their own website, for their own content, for their own social media. So they come in with their cameras and their people and their lights and their microphones. The retailers are doing.
Oh yeah,
yeah. You said
and so the retail. I'm sorry, I meant
oh
retail.
yeah.
But the retailers are going in and they're doing this. Other retailers are coming up and just assuming that they're media. And it's like that's not us. That's not us. That's fucking Joe Schmo, some fucking Joe Schmo's fucking smoke shack that nobody fucking buys fuck all from. Like that's not us.
Well, yeah, and you should be able to look at the badges and be, oh, that's a retailer, that's a distributor, that's a media.
Don't even get me started on that. They give us a little fucking so everyone wears this badge. It's like Tim's got it right behind it.
Yeah, mine's right here.
So the only thing that differentiates us from anybody else on the trade show floor is that little fucking ribbon at the bottom.
Yeah, no, print. They need to have much more. They need to have a better presence of media, like armbands or something.
Let's not do armbands. There's some media that wear brown shirts. Let's not put armbands.
Okay, but I'm saying all I'm saying is you need more differentiation between what is media and what is a retailer, and I want to go to the media sources that I trust, and the idea that you're losing time to be able to do and interrupt their business dealings as it is, you should have a red badge or something that clearly stands out so that is not confused. And the idea that a retailer is going to go there and end up using a slot that for their own purposes, they're not doing it for any edification other than their own. That is not cool.
Well, let me ask you this, Lou, as a manufacturer, would you rather have, because you are going to have, like, I know this is going to be your first one, so you're kind of like, you're not sure what to expect, but you're going to have a very finite amount of time with both your retailers and the media, right?
Yep.
So if you have a finite amount of time, would you rather spend that time with media, or would you rather spend that time with a retailer trying to create their own content?
Honestly? Oh, no.
Honestly,
media. No, it depends on how much the media. I mean, how much the
retailer's spending.
Spend it. Yeah, I mean, look, if they want to come up and buy $2 worth of product and they want 20 minutes of my time, I love to tell my story. My brand is my story, and I get it. But at the end of the day, if it's a retailer that's going to put this out for their audience, it all depends on their buy. I mean, I'm looking at true media like Simply Stogies. When you guys come around to the booth, if I'm lucky enough that you have it in your schedule to be able to stop and listen to my story, your audience is much broader than one retailer's audience in terms of the media presentation, and it's going to be picked up and gone out there. If a retailer comes in and says, look, we're going to put a great order in with you and whatever it is, I'll give them all the time in the world. It's just a business decision.
Yeah, I don't disagree. Like that if I were a manufacturer, that's what I would do too. But when you've got these retailers who come in, they don't spend a lot, and they're taking up 20-30 minutes of your time, because not only do they just want to bullshit with you and smoke your cigars for free, but they also want to do an interview with you and get footage of your booth and footage of your product and footage. Like, they don't have the reach that media does. They don't have the reach that we do. They don't have the reach that Coop does. They don't have the reach that Half Wheel has. They don't have the reach that some of these others have. So it's a little, I get frustrated because we get thrown under the bus and we're not the ones that are doing it. It's the retailers that are doing it. Well, and I get it. It's their trade. It's their
it's not managing that. They're not. That's on them. That's not on you guys. I mean,
you're right. It is. It is on them. But do we expect?
What is it?
Or should we expect as media? Should we expect the PCA to go in and micromanage booths?
No,
I don't think so.
But you have been criticized as a collective group of media that you've advertised and shared on your podcast, and other people have done it also. I've listened to Coop. I haven't seen this from Half Wheel, but I've listened to Coop's various different online presentations and stuff. And here's the other thing. There is a core group of people in media that have supported my brand from the get-go. And when I send out a press release, they are quick to put the press release out and distribute it, and it gets picked up. And that has helped my brand become what it is today. and it will continue to grow. And they've always been supportive, and they've been very appreciative of me sharing my news, press releases and things. Well, I would want to make sure that the people who have picked up my press release are out there getting my time, and I would respect that. And if it's somebody I've never heard of, I'm not saying look, not every media outlet has picked up a story about Lure, and I would be happy to have a conversation, but I'd much rather have that conversation with somebody that is vetted as media by the PCA. At a minimum, the PCA should be vetting who is coming to the booth as media. If you've got a media badge, something has had to have happened to where you've convinced them that you are a true media outlet that is going to promote the industry, and I will give them a piece of my time, because time is limited. And have they not tried to do a media day? Take away the consumer side of things. A lot of times you say that there's this half day of the trade show at the end, and everybody's exhausted. They've been up, countless hours and everything else.
They've done away with that, though. They've taken that away. There's no longer a half day.
So where is all your energy? Your energy, the first day we get there, we're setting up the booth, we're getting prepped and everything else for the next day when the trade show floor opens. All of our energy is at the beginning of the show. Whether you have a media cycle through and they have a docent that goes through and everybody has to go in like a snake line. One of the things that I thought was most impressive, just as an analog that popped into my head, at the My Old Kentucky Herf, everybody had a card. And that card had all of the different manufacturers' logos on it. And it was set up to be kind of a map of the event. And there were probably, 30 retailers there, plus another 10 or 15 vendors of other tangential kind of cigar-related things. And they basically let people in the door at the beginning of the event, and everybody kind of snake through, and you walk through kind of like a train of going through kind of thing. If you were to do something like that to where there was a flow, and everybody could, sit there and tell the story 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 and tell the story. You get it all out of the way versus trying to interject those stories to the media and those presentations amongst sales. How many times have you walked past a booth and you respect the fact that the manufacturer is having a sales discussion with a potential retailer that you don't want to interrupt business, that you moved on, and there were interviews that you didn't even get to have because they were too busy.
A lot.
And if there's a ton of those.
Yeah.
Which is, if you bring consumers into the trade show floor, that's just going to add a whole nother level of interference with what they're there to do. So, I mean, I think that it's great that they're trying to include consumers, but I still feel that there has to be a separation there at all times.
It's just, it can't be all things to all people, and you have to know your audience and what is the mission of the trade show, and that is to connect retailers to the manufacturers, and they want to see and they want to hear and they want to conduct business. The media is there as a reinforcement of those manufacturers to be able to promote, and people that can't afford it. How many retailers are not going to the show this year? There's countless, because it's just a major expense. It's thousands of dollars to bring one or two or more individuals to walk around and decide whether or not they're going to spend money. On top of that, there are issues with the fact that during COVID, there were a lot of manufacturers that offered the same trade show deals without having to go to the trade show. Well, what's the incentive of going other than just, meet your friends and talk to people that you like and maybe smoke the cigars and sample? If you're able to get those deals from a manufacturing standpoint and not even having attended the show, it disincentivizes a retailer from spending the money to go to the show.
Yeah. It does. It's sitting here listening to the two of you talk about the trade show and how it is expensive. It's expensive for retailers. It's expensive for media. It's expensive for manufacturers. And every time we're there, we always get told, and when I say we, it's the royal we, media, get told that we're taking up too much time and we're taking up too much space, and the PCA is never happy with it. And they've changed it. We're no longer PCA members. Like, we can become a PCA member, but we don't have to be. But we still got to pay for the badges.
I didn't like that.
Should we? I didn't either. It's fine. I get what they were trying to do. I don't think it was a slight against media. But at the same time, part of me is like, should we even go? There was a time in 2020. The show was a year old, and Tim and I had talked about this ad nauseum that year when we didn't go in 2020. We were like, should we go to the trade show? Is this something we should do? And at the time, I think both Tim and I landed on, if we're not there, we're not relevant.
Right.
Because everybody else is at Half Wheels there, and they're covering every booth, literally every booth they're doing. We'll get 7 hours worth of footage, but those guys literally cover every booth, like hundreds of booths, because there's hundreds of booths there, and they get the majority of them, if not almost all of them. Coop's there, and Coop's doing his thing, and his coalition of podcasts and whatnot. How about that? Cigars there, Smoking Tobacco's there. Evil Empire Cigar Society's there some years. It's just so oversaturated with media. I just don't know if it's worth spending the money to go anymore. And I'm not saying we're not going. I'm just throwing it out there. Tim.
So what's funny to me about this is a conversation that we have every year leading into the show, and then we go to the show, and then we have another conversation, and this is an emotional love-hate roller coaster that we are constantly on.
Well, normally, just so everyone knows how the sausage is made, normally about the time of the trade show every year, I'm like, why do we do this? Why? Is it so nobody gives a shit?
If you haven't seen last year, every year, the last couple of years that we've gone to the trade show, we try to do a quick little live before the show and after the show, just to kind of, hey, here's what, we're kind of thinking about doing today, or we're going to try to do today. And then at the end of the day, we're like, oh yeah, this is what happened. And one of those clips, and I don't even think we got the full effect into the clip, but it is just Randy, myself, and James. And I think we're waiting on Nick to come out. Yeah. And we're just dog at it. You have to watch this clip.
It wasn't even, we didn't script it.
No.
What? When you watch it, you're like, "Oh, these guys scripted that." No, it was the morning of day 3, which is the last day of the show. I hit the wrong button. It's day 3, last day of the show, and we are just like Tim said, we are dog ass tired. We are fucking, and I'm sitting there half asleep, and Randy's sitting there half asleep. Tim hits the go live button, and he walks over and he sits down, and I know he hit the button. I just don't care. And I just sit and we're just tired. And Randy goes, "What day is it?" I'm like, "I think it's July."
Yeah. No, I think you said something else. But anyway, it was completely unscripted. It was probably the thing that I laugh to this day the most of, because every trade show, there are plenty of memories. There are a few that suck, but there are so many memories that are made at these trade shows that just outweigh those little things that suck. And I think that's what drives us to go to the show and to do the coverage and to be able to, because some of these people we get to talk to face that one time a year. And I think that's what drives a lot of retailers to go, sure, they're going to get to sample the new cigars. Sure, they're going to get to, first whack at the trade show deals, even though everybody can get it. There's pros to it. But like you said, Lou, if I can just go online or call my rep up and get the PCA trade show deal, if I'm the type of retailer who doesn't value those times that I spend with other people that I've established or built friendships with at these shows, then yeah, I'm not going to go. I'm just going to buy what I need to buy and conduct business. But I think a lot of people want to go to the show, not only for the show aspect of it, but the time to hang out with their friends that they've met at the show from all over the world.
Sure.
And I think people like Vegas because of the bars and the gambling and the afterlife, or the after, not the afterlife. That was a bad word. But all the stuff to do at night, where I don't know if that's going to be something that's really available in New Orleans.
New Orleans. It's going to be interesting to see if that's the case. Are we going to go to the trade show? I think unequivocally, yes, we're going to go to the trade show.
We're going to change. Put in the leave.
Yeah. Tim is smoking. We are going. Are we going to change how we do things? Maybe a little bit. Every year we gather the team together. Tim and I rally the troops, and we say, if you got an idea on how we could do something different, so it's just not the same format, it's not the same interviews, it's not the same. Hey, what do you got new this year? Oh, it's really great to see you. It's Dan Thompson, McAuliffe,
hey,
Cigars
Dan.
President, McAuliffe Cigars. Hola to you, sir. We're doing great. Just talking trade show and the PCA consumer membership, which shouldn't shock anybody that's what we're talking about. But we ask him, like, what can we do different? How can we have more fun doing this? And ideas have been thrown around, the logistics of which some are impossible to do. Like Dan, he's listening, he's watching. Thank you for investing your hard-earned money to cover our stories for the trade show. It is a grind, and we should say thank you for more office. Yeah, I love McAuliffe because they understand media and what we do and what we're trying to do and what we're trying to accomplish, and they're gracious with their time. And we go, we went to in 22. They walked us, like Dan walked us around the booth, and
that was a good time.
And that was awesome. It was just great. And Dan's always great. McAuliffe is always great. Just and honestly, most people at the trade show are great. Most people are. But I would love to grab Dan and be like, Dan, let's go to a booth. You name the booth.
Oh, yeah. I know where you're going.
And you go, and we will follow you, and you interview this company. Like whatever company it is, you get to choose. And you get to find out. We get to see your reaction, how you. But the problem is like Dan doesn't have time to do that. I know Dan doesn't have time to do that. We barely have the time to do that, and that's what we're there to do.
There, I put it on the screen.
Right. Dan's like, I'm in. I think that would be great if more people would want to do that. I would love to grab Lou and be like, Lou, you want to go interview Pete Johnson? Because I know Lou would be like, fuck
hell
yeah. Fuck yeah. I think that's content people would want to watch. And I think that would put a different spin on it. And it's not my idea. I need to be completely honest and transparent. That's not my idea. You want to know who gave me that idea? Like gave it to me. Charlie Minato. Last year when I interviewed him for the show in December, he gave me that idea. He's like, I would really love to see somebody do that. I'm like,
I remember you told me after the fact, and I'm like, holy shit, that is a freaking amazing idea. Like, how fun would that be?
That would be a lot of fun. And if we could get enough to do it, we may not be able to get everybody to do it, but if we could get people to do that, I think maybe we'll do that. So Dan, if you're in, buddy, like you pick the booth, you pick the person, you pick the cigar company, and we'll go. Like we'll do it. And we're still gonna cover everyone's booth. We're still gonna go and find out what they've got new. And we're gonna do that. We're gonna bring that to you guys. But I think we need to have a little bit of fun with it. And see, Lou and Dan. Lou loves Tatuaje. He's a big Tatuaje fan. I think you would have a lot of fun with that, wouldn't you, Lou? Like just 10, 15 minutes with Pete. You can ask him anything you want, or like just 3 questions, like whatever the case is. And then like that takes a little bit of pressure off us, Tim, because now we're not having to do our jobs. Like we're outsourced it to the manufacturers.
We're gonna have to get some good action cams just to be able to keep up with that pace.
Yeah, I think that would be a lot of fun. So look forward to that. I think that's something we're going to do, and I might reach out to some manufacturers before the show, like a month before, and be like, "Hey, this is our idea. Are you open to it? Would you be okay if Lou came over and interviewed you? Would you be okay if Dan came over and interviewed you? Would you be okay if whoever came over and interviewed you for just 10 minutes? Like that would be the interview, right?
Yeah, I think it'd be cool.
Yeah, so we'd have and we could call it I don't know, manufacturer on manufacturer.
Name to be determined for sure.
Yeah, like because that's just because that's a terrible name, manufacturer on manufacturer.
I wasn't going to say it, but you kind of tripped me up a little bit there.
It's like two girls, one cup. Two manufacturers, one mic. Lou's like, no. Rocky and I had a great conversation last year, somewhat geeking into the details of the business, lots of learning and laughs at mistakes we both. That's the kind of stuff.
Yeah.
What Dan just put there that I think our audience would really enjoy is that kind of behind the scenes, how the sausage is made, kind of stuff. Where and to be able to see someone like Lou, who's a consumer first and an enthusiast first and an aficionado first and a manufacturer second, be able to meet his I don't want to say his idol, but
somebody, a fan. I'm a fan.
A fan, yeah. You get to. As I looked over, I'm like, why am I the only one on the screen? I didn't press the button. Tim's over there fucking around with shit.
You could, maker to maker.
Yeah, maker to maker. That's a good name. Maker to maker. Definitely better than manufacturer on manufacturer.
Yeah.
Manufacturer on manufacturer action.
No, we don't want
$19.95 a month.
Hot manufacturing singles in your area.
For us new guys, it could be faker to maker. It could be.
Come on.
But maker to maker. A maker to maker segment. Where it's. And what's funny is there are established relationships that go back, years and years. That if you had a Terrence Riley and who's got great personality, interview somebody that was influential in him getting into the industry and going and saying this kind of thing. So I think a segment, even of 5 minutes, 10 minutes at most, where the person that is getting interviewed by the interviewee, if they had a personal relationship already with that person or somehow connected to, they would be more comfortable having that conversation versus just a media person who they've never met in person or they've never seen their media outlet before. It would be an interesting dynamic to have somebody who has an established relationship. I mean, obviously, Pete would be, ideal to go to Don Pepin or somebody else kind of thing. You could have that. You're not going to probably capture that at a trade show, but if you had, even if this was offline and it wasn't something that was trade show specific, to have segments that Simply Stogies could produce where, and I think Randy had this idea where you have somebody that has an established relationship, and that would be something that shows how interconnected the industry is. And I think that it's while there are thousands of cigars out there and hundreds of brands, there are networks of people that aren't where they are today based on the relationships they have with somebody else. I mean, I wouldn't be where I am without Nimmer and Valakari. In his experience, it is definitely proven to be a part of my success is to have that history. I can't imagine that there's any brand out there that isn't somehow, like, if you were to actually have like a family tree, that they did this for cartography, where cartography and map making was my industry that was before my development industry, and then getting into cigars. And somebody once took and did the research to find out where the core families were in academia that generated the other people that were out there. And this begat that. It would be interesting to have that cigar family tree that would show how interrelated the industry is. And I think that, those segments of interviewer and interviewee, interviewer and person being interviewed, would be interesting to see those connected tissues that exist between the different people.
Yeah, I'll be honest, Lou. Like, you just, when you said, they beget them and then beget they, and then so on and so on. So and so beget so and so, and so and so beget so and so. Like, the name for that came to me is Cigar Genesis. The Cigar Genesis, because it really is. It is very interconnected. And if I had the funds, the money, I would do a documentary just on that, where it's cigar maker to cigar maker, and they interview the person or the people who helped them get into the business. So it wouldn't necessarily be, just take Pete Johnson, for example. It wouldn't be, just him, talking to Don Pepin. It would be him talking to his old shop, and the people that were connected with the shop that he worked at, and that kind of thing. And Al McAuliffe and him talking to the Gomez Sanchez family, and then who did the Gomez Sanchez family, who brought them into it, right? And we just said it's that genesis of each brand, and when you have that overall story arc for each brand, you get this overarching this 100,000 foot view of the industry at large. It is incestuous, not in a weird way, but everyone knows everyone else, and everyone is connected in some way.
Yep.
Whether it's by buying tobacco from somebody and having that relationship, or the farms and the relationships they have with the manufacturers, and the manufacturers and the relationship they have with retailers, and so on and so forth.
Sure.
And who begat who, and who begat who. And we see more and more. There were just 2 new cigar companies that announced that they were out this year. Domain's one. Stoic is a new one. Vance Taylor, it's not his first foray into doing things with cigars, but this is his first cigar company. And
Vance and I have known each other for 10 years plus by way of the Facebook groups and everything else. And, he has a relationship with the factory he has with, because he enjoys cigars, and it's all about the love of the leaf, that when you see why people do what they do, nobody gets into this business to make $1 million on day one.
No.
I mean, obviously you want to make a business, and it's got to be an enterprise that's a going concern. But at the end of the day, we all love cigars. And when you get that human component of it, and it's a handmade product, and it puts it into context of just how amazing it is and how many people are involved. I mean, we all hear the number 300 hands that go into making a cigar, but at the end of the day, there are like-minded individuals that take a chance, that take a risk, and somebody tells them, do this or don't do this. And I will say that for the most part, most of the manufacturers that I've talked to are very approachable people. I've sat and talked to Nick Melillo in my neighborhood shop when he was there for an event, and he will sit there and share all the ups and downs with what it's like, that if you ask him. And I'm going to assume that, when Rick Rodriguez talked about going to E.P. Carrillo to help him blend the Circle of Life, that's a great story,
Yeah.
and having that backstory, and having the relationship between Crown Heads and my father for Las Calaveras. There's just little stories that are interesting for everybody that is a cigar enthusiast.
I would agree. I would, if I had $250,000 to dump into this, I would do that as a documentary series. But what I may end up having to do is maybe kind of rework some of what I want to do for next year in some of the podcasts, and just have a podcast series called, Simply Stogies. It's our Cigar Genesis series. And I go down and I talk to whoever, and that may not be a bad idea.
I think that would be good. That'd be entertaining.
Yeah.
You'd learn a lot from it too.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, look, I didn't know the Plasencia family and AJ and Fernandez were instrumental for McAuliffe. Nice. I had no idea. So, and Dan agrees with you. You're so right. So many manufacturers helped us get on our feet. We've got a video for you and Nick. Yeah. like that would be great. I think that would be such a cool thing to do. That's got me thinking. It's got the wheels turning, Tim. Like, maybe.
Oh shit.
That's what I do.
Will it come out before or after In the Life of Nick?
A day in the life of Nick.
Or Day in the Life.
Yeah. Yeah. Probably come out. Probably come out before.
Not every idea that we have is a winner. This
but I think
much better.
This doesn't it? I think
yeah.
That's such a great point that Lou had, that it all is all interconnected, and this business is so relationship driven. The industry is relationship driven. We always talk about it from like the consumer end, where this is the great equalizer, right? You can sit in a lounge and talk to anybody, from kings to street sweepers, everyone in between. You never know who you're talking to in a lounge. And you'll have a great conversation, of a great experience, and it is very experiential, and it is relationship driven. But the industry at large is the same way, and I think that's such a great story at its core. That these individual stories for McAuliffe and for Lure Cigars and for Foundation and for whoever else, like just name it. It is. It was a good vibe shift, right? Yeah, I went from like, God, this is such a terrible idea to, wow, this is really good. So yeah, wow, like I really wanted this idea to marinate for a hot minute with me, and that might be something.
Let me know when you get done marinating. We'll continue to talk from there.
Right, like I'm really trying to not just focus on that, because that's such a great idea. Tim, write that down, would you? Cigar Genesis, so I don't forget, because God knows once this show is over, be like, what do we talk about? I gotta go watch it again. I ain't doing that.
Well, it's that oral history too that gets lost.
Yeah.
And it's a story that gets told, and it's always from a consumer standpoint. When I taste a cigar that I've never had before, and I enjoy it, it is even more enjoyable when there's a story behind it of where it came from. And it wasn't just something that was just, on the shelf and they picked it off and there it is. And when you hear the story of why they made a decision, or why it was there, or this tobacco was, and not in a artificial way, but a true authentic story to say, we were looking for a cigar. And it's funny because along the lines of McAuliffe, one of the things that I really like the tobacco from Casa Turrent, and there's been some samples that I've had from the Casa Turrent factory that are just phenomenal cigars. And to find out that McAuliffe is using a lot of the San Andres tobacco, and in interesting ways that I've never had from something else, the black, the blue, and the red now cigar, those are cigars that definitely have my attention. In addition to the fact that they are a great value in the terms of the price point, it's the tobacco that's being used, and it's just something that it's truly, worthy of the story. And that connectivity, I want to go out and try other cigars from a factory or from a farm or from a source. Brian Matola from Cavalier talked about the Placencias coming in and giving them the seeds and helping them. When we were in Kentucky, he was telling the whole story about getting them started and getting them to where they were actually producing their own tobacco and helping them. At the end of the day, it's people helping people, and it's all about the love of the leaf and trying something. Those are great stories, and it makes me want to go out and try those cigars.
It does. It really. We've always talked, Lou. You and I, and Tim. You and I offline. We talk a lot. The three of us. We've always said that stories are what sell, right?
Yep.
That's what sells the cigar, is the story behind it and the people behind it, and if it's interesting. And I think at its core, everyone, I keep saying at its core, like some kind of dumbass, but it is at its essentially at its very essence of what it is. I don't think it matters who we're talking to, but it's an interesting story. Everybody has a story. Everybody has a journey, and on those journeys, on those individual journeys for manufacturers, they've had other people in the industry help them and foster them along. And Dan says, thank you for the kind words, Lou. But it's just the truth, Dan. It's just the truth, right? Like, you have been doing some interesting things. We've talked about it on the show, and I have. You can't see it, but I got my black box press McAuliffe Black that came in yesterday. So I'm letting it sit for a little bit. They didn't sell well. We've learned a lot. I think that's it. When you look at and we talked about this a little bit, Dan, when you were on the show, but when you decided to discontinue the Bold line, like, did the Bold line have a story? I don't think it had a story like the black or the red or the blue. I don't think it had that kind of story. The Migdalia has a story. Again, the Migdalia has a great story, and that's a great cigar. People connect with that, and you still have to create a great product. At the end of the day, if you're not creating a great product or an interesting product, you're not going to sell. It doesn't matter how great the story is. You'll have an initial run where people are like, "Oh, it's such a great story. Let me try the cigar." Oh, it's not that great, but if it's a great cigar, people are going to be like, not only is it a great cigar, but there's a great story that goes along with it. I connect with that on an emotional level, on an intellectual level. And Lou, yours is such an emotional story.
Yeah.
And that I think people really do connect with that in a very visceral kind of way. You know,
well,
you and I are about the same age.
Real story too.
Yeah, and you and I are about the same age, and I still have my dad. And I remember last year when you had when your father passed, and I knew how much that affected you. I saw how much that affected you. I just went, shit. Like, I'm not looking forward to this at all. I don't think anybody ever does. But I mean, when you see somebody that you're friends with, that you talk with almost every day, and you see how they react to it, you're just like, man, this is going to hurt me in ways I don't even want to think about.
Yeah.
And so that story, people, even if they still have their father, they look at that and they're like, shit, yeah, I connect with that.
Well, along those lines, you know, an analog would be, there are a lot of movies, and there's not a movie that most people will go out and watch if they haven't seen the trailer first. And so the trailer is the hook that brings you in. Sometimes the movies, all you needed to see was in the trailer.
Yeah.
And so the trailer was better than the movie ever was. But at the end of the day, if the movie actually supports the excitement and the emotional connection that the trailer presents, the story is the trailer, and then the cigar actually has to back it up and be a Academy Award winning, you know, movie that keeps people's interest for the 2 hours that they're sitting there.
Yeah, Dan just said it. Like, you know, the Bold Line had some good cigars, but they were soulless. And if you're watching a great, you know, a movie that you saw the trailer for, you're like, oh, this looks amazing. You go in and there's just no soul there, and there's nothing to connect to.
Right.
You're like, why am I watching this? Like, you know, why am I watching Joker Folie à Deux? Like, this is terrible. Who wants a fucking musical? Who ordered this fucking musical for a goddamn Joker movie? You know, so, who's watching Jared Leto as Mobius? Like, who wants this? There are just movies out there that don't have soul, and there are cigars out there that don't have soul. There are stories that don't have soul. You can tell. I'm not gonna mention names, but there are manufacturers out there that don't have a legit story. They're soulless, and you can tell there's no passion behind what they're doing. There's no passion behind what they're selling, and there's no passion in what they're rolling.
Great packaging, great swag, mediocre at best cigars. And you know what? Fine. You know, you don't have to name names, but there's cigars that have incredible boxes, or they have incredible bands, or they've got incredible, you know, flash and dash. And at the end of the day, when you smoke it, you go, does this live up to the expectation of a cigar that is presented this way? And if it doesn't, you move on. And the most successful things are, it's like, look, at the end of the day, we smoke cigars. I don't smoke boxes. I don't smoke bands. I smoke a cigar. Take the band off. How does the cigar stand on its own? But how do I choose to reach for that cigar in the first place? Most people are not going to go reach for a cigar that doesn't have a band on it. And, you know, I find this to be challenging. I don't sell my cigars internationally in terms of retailers. There's a lot of international customers, but the cigars that are out there that are in Canada, and I know that there's a couple other places that are very restrictive on the packaging, to the point where you strip off everything, right? That, as a consumer, that would terrify me to know what I've got.
Yeah, no, my brain started to say the names, Dan, and then my left side of the brain went, no, stop, no, or the right side, I don't know. They were fighting each other for a hot second. It was a mess up there. I'm like, I'm going to say this. No, you're not. No, don't say it. Don't say it, dumbass.
No.
May or may not rhyme with burqa. What?
Stop
what?
It.
Come at me. Don't at me. Don't at me. But yeah, it's this business is in this industry as a whole is a very interesting industry altogether, with interesting characters that have interesting stories. And I think it would be nice to be able to put some of those stories out in a podcast format that'll be evergreen, that people can go back and listen to it whenever they want. And new cigar smokers, 20 years from now, when I'm dead and in the ground, can look at it and go, that's an interesting story. Because it's not about me, and it's not about Simply Stogies. It's about the industry, and it's about preserving some of the things. When we talk about titans of the industry that we've lost, and Nick says all the time he always wished that he had more time with Arsenio. How great would it have been if somebody was able to sit down with Arsenio and really dig into his story, and who helped you? Like, would you want to talk with them on camera about how they helped you, and kind of, so we get to see that torch being passed. We kind of get to hear about it secondhand, but it's right from the horse's mouth.
You kind of got that. I watched Daniel Marshall's podcast with you guys, and he tells the story of his origin and how he got started and whatnot. And I think that, while it's industry adjacent, he's not making cigars at the beginning of his journey. He had this family connection and somebody who believed in him. And when he was inspired to follow through on an idea and was encouraged to do it, I think it has a lot of power there. I mean, I don't know a lot about his brand, but the whole story makes me want to know more about it. It makes me want to follow up on it as a consumer and as an enthusiast. I think even the word Arsenio, I know that there was this person that was affiliated with Aganorsa, and they made a cigar in his honor, and they re-released a cigar in his honor this year, and that's great. But what's the backstory behind it? And to have that presented in a way that you can, passively watch it and get educated, I think is exciting. I would watch those segments.
Yeah, no, I would too. But this is an idea that I want to keep for myself. So if you're watching this, Half Wheel or Coop or whoever, this is my idea.
You got to copyright that idea right away.
Patent this shit right now.
Yeah.
I think that's something that I'm really gonna. I really want to do is Jay Rigged Jeff Dillingham jumps on. What's up, brother? Yeah, I think that's something that I really want to do, and it's not, like I said, it's not for me, and it's not for Simply Stogies. It's for cigar aficionados and enthusiasts today and tomorrow and forever, that they can go and these stories are put down in posterity. Daniel Marshall is a great example of that, and I really want to thank him for coming on the show, having him on. I never thought we'd be able to get Daniel Marshall, because when you think of humidors, you think of Daniel Marshall. And what's interesting is, he's also got his own cigar, and that red label that he sent me, I think I have one left. It's that good.
You sent me two.
I sent you two. I think I gave 2 out to a couple buddies that came over and smoked.
Tim got 0.
Tim got 0. Tim always gets 0. Poor Tim.
Hey, Tim, I'll send you one, so at least you can.
You're
have one.
You're good.
I've got one here.
I don't want to take.
Whatever. You guys come over to the studio and hang out and smoke a cigar and get some. But you could also just go to Daniel Marshall humidors.com. I think is what it is, humidorsandcigars.com, and use code DM Simply 40. That's DM Simply 40. Get 40% off the cigars and select humidors. I think whatever he's got in stock, I think is what he's given 40% off of. And so if you want to get yourself a Daniel Marshall humidor, I've got one right there now on top of that cooler door. It's a very nice. I think it's worth $100. And it's a very nice acrylic one. It's got magnets on it. It seals. And so, if I know I want to smoke something next week, I'll put it in there. Just go grab it whenever I want. That way I don't have to open up these two big bastards. But his story was great. His story, what really struck me about his and really resonated with me is from a young age. What was he said? He was 17, 18. He was climbing to the top of the sailboat. He used the correct term. I don't know what it is. It wasn't the mast. I would have thought it was the mast. It wasn't the mast.
No.
And he looked down and there was another sailboat coming by, and in that sailboat he said he saw the most beautiful woman he's ever seen in his life. And he saw this young guy with her, and he's just like, that's the guy I want to be. That's who I want to be, you know? And that's what really started the drive. But then, you know, his girlfriend's grandfather, I think it was, you can go listen to the episode. I think it was either grandfather or father, but was smoking cigars, and he smelled it. He's like, what is that amazing smell? And he was like, here's the cigar. And he smoked that cigar and he loved it. And he went home and he started making little cases for cigars and wanted to go sell. It's such a great story. And then being told no, you know, and having to go back to the drawing board and figure out how he just knew that this was the industry he wanted to be in. So we do get part of these stories through the podcast. But the podcast, I mean, honestly, what we do is we try to highlight manufacturers and brands, and yeah, we want to tell their story. But I feel
like his story needs to be the first episode on Simply Stogies TV.
On Cigar Genesis.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, you didn't write it down, did you? I
did.
It's Simply Stogies TV now. It's not.
Well, no, that was another idea. That was a whole nother idea.
I don't want to have. I don't know. It's well into the second hour now. We've only got 20 minutes left. I just finished my Superb. This is our only 2-cigar show. So my second cigar tonight is one that I've reviewed. SimplyStogies.com. You can go check it out. The Coffin Nails by Black Label Trading Company. This is a little powerhouse that I don't want to say it shocked me at how good it is. But I was pleasantly surprised at how good this little cigar is, how much flavor they pack in this little petite Corona. Lou, you've had these.
Yep.
What do you think of them?
I really dig them. I think it's a great little smoke. I'm a fan of smaller ring gauge and smaller cigars just because of the frequency in which I smoke and the time that I have to smoke them. So, you know, unless I know I'm going to be able to sit down for an hour or two, when I've sometimes got a 30 to 40 minute window of opportunity to light up or run an errand or whatever it is, I've been smoking a lot of smaller format cigars. And I think for the price point, a lot of consumers are out there looking for, you know, value, sub $10 opportunities to smoke. And it's harder and harder to find those cigars at that price point. So you end up, you know, sacrificing scale in some cases to be able to enjoy a good high quality tobacco.
I mean, you don't when you pick up a McAuliffe black, red, or blue.
Yep.
$7-8, sub $10 for a Robusto or a Toro. You can't.
Yep.
Can't beat that with a stick. But I mean, like Lou said, if you're looking for a quick smoke, this scored very high for a quick smoke. I think I give it a 9.3 out of 10.
Oh, damn.
And very quickly, Dan, if you're looking to become a producer for a small podcast, Dan texted me and he said, hey, a Cigar Genesis, just in case Tim really didn't write it down.
I freaking wrote it down, guys.
If you would like to replace Tim on the show, we're always looking for Tim's replacement.
I wrote it down. Well, I typed it. I don't use paper very often.
I think Dan would be a great addition to the Simply Stogies team.
I can't compete with Dan.
You can't compete with Dan.
I don't know who can.
I don't. There's not many who can, and Dan and I have very similar.
Yeah, see, this is unfair because with my current job, I don't have the ability to grow my hair out.
It's a sad,
you know, and I think that's the secret.
Yeah, you blame the job, and I blame genetics.
Lost.
Yeah,
just making sure magic ain't lost. I love Dan so much. Dan is so good. Oh man, one of the coolest guys in the President guys like that.
I'm actually kind of glad your internet sucks. I'm just gonna say
that's fine. It's fine. It'll be fixed on Sunday. It's all right. It's all good. Yeah. What'd you say? What? Oh, is girls for girls.
Locks of love.
Yeah, that's what Mo from Patina calls it. Every time he sees me, he's like, "Oh, there's locks of love right there." It's all right. Yeah, you know what? My internet can suck. It's all right because John Lorendi, he liked my flow. He liked the flow, and it's just getting long.
I got nothing to add to that.
For those of you interested, the next episode that comes out is going to be the Hector Alfonso episode's out today. Go check that out. It's a great interview with him. He talked a lot about the industry. He talked a lot about Espinosa. He talked a lot about Guy Fieri and working with him and celebrities in the space, and just an absolute great conversation. He's funny, just absolutely funny as hell. And it was a great conversation. Go check that out. And then the next episode is going to be to clear the air. And I wore a ponytail. I had my hair back in a ponytail for the show. Yeah. What are you shaking your head for, Lou?
Well, because genetically, I don't have the ability to grow hair like that, so I'm, just have to be envious of your.
No, so the question is, if you could grow your hair like that, would you?
Oh, here we go.
No, I would not.
No.
Yeah, but
I want to retire and go full Lebowski. I'm going to go when I retire from my current job, I'm going to go full Lebowski, milk carton, bathrobe, the whole 9 yards, right on the trade show floor. Be like, I'm going to do an interview. Let's do this.
I want people to just look at Tim right now.
No,
and I want you to just imagine him in a bathrobe, full Lebowski, carton of milk on the trade show.
Yeah. Got a beverage here.
Wasn't it White Russians? Isn't that what he drank all the time? White Russians?
Caucasian.
The dude vibes.
Jesus Christ.
Yep. Absolutely. That's right, Dan. Life goes by me. Full Lebowski. # full Lebowski.
Dan, I'm just telling you, my friend, if this McAuliffe thing doesn't work out for you, I got a job for you. I need to pay a shit, but
it does pay shit.
But at least we'd have a lot of fun. Yeah. You can come on and just make fun of Tim. Like, we'd keep Tim around.
Yeah, everybody else does. You might as well join in.
Yeah, just join in. It'll just be beat on Tim night.
Let's rephrase that.
I said beat on Tim.
Okay.
Not, yeah.
No.
Jesus Christ. Go ahead, Lou. What were you going to say?
I was going to say, Tim, are you still smoking the same cigar, or have you moved on to something else?
No, I've moved on. Crowned Heads, Le Creme. I got about a half a box of these. These are nice little chocolatey smokes. I dig these.
Yeah, good smoke.
That's it. That is a good smoke. Speaking of Crown Heads, they're Las Calaveras double LE. I don't even know what you want to call it. The Decima finally shipped.
Yeah,
like that was something that was pre-sold around the country in July.
Yeah, it's crazy how it takes so long for from the time something's announced to the time it arrives in the store. It's ready for purchase. It sometimes blows me away at how long it takes.
You always have options with me, Dan. You always got options. You always got options. Yeah, I it's something that in the industry that drives me nuts, and not every manufacturer does it. And I don't mind a pre-sale if they know it's coming. Like, it's coming in the next week for sure. It's getting shipped to us. Like, we're going to pre-sell it. But when these manufacturers, this isn't just a knock on Crown Heads, because I love Crown Heads. I love what they do, and we don't know why it got delayed. Maybe it just wasn't ready. Maybe they had a problem with the boxes. We don't know the reason. They don't always come out and say, hey, this is why. But it drives me nuts when something's announced and then retailers will put it on sale, take your money, and then, like, it's not the retailer's fault. And then it doesn't show up for months. And you're like, I was really looking forward to this cigar. Like, this is something that I really wanted to. Scott Childress, Evening Fellas from UCLA. Is that an acronym for something other than you want to help me out here? Because I know LA, Lower Alabama, but what's the UC?
I don't know the UC. I mean,
what's the UC, Scott? You're gonna have to help me.
Upper Coast, Lower Alabama. I don't know.
I don't know either. Scott works at Bull Weevil in Enterprise, Alabama, ugly corner of Lower Alabama. There we go. Thank you, man. I was like, what is it? I don't, okay. But he could say that all he wants. Look at that. And Dan's talking about the PCA 2025 cigars. already there in Texas. Planning often works to hit your goals. Yeah, planning. And it's something that
such a weird concept.
It is, right? And that's Ian from Dapper has made the commitment. We talked to him at the trade show earlier this year. And he said, I'm not doing that anymore. I'm not even telling retailers about it until it's out. I'm not putting a press release about it out until they're in my hand, until I know they're ready to go. And I wish more manufacturers would do it the way that Ian has committed to do it, the way that
did he get burnt on that a few times?
Ian? I don't think so.
I was just wondering if they're like, you might have asked during the trade
thought that
show.
was
And
Mo.
I don't remember.
I thought Mo.
No, that was Ian from Dapper, because Brooks had come up to me from Brooks at Whittington from Half Wheel. He's like, would you please go interview Ian? He's doing some great things, and he's got this. He he's not doing it. I'm like, fuck yeah, I'll go talk to Ian. So big shout out to Brooks for pointing me in that direction, because that should be a bigger story than what it is in the industry.
I've been bitten by that as a consumer. I've totally put my money up and had the expectations of getting a cigar from a manufacturer that I was excited about getting and smoke this stuff. And then it was literally 6 to 7 months later before, and there was no real explanation. I mean, it was just like, whatever, you'll deal with it, And, as a manufacturer, we're trying to set up our products to get out there and be released in a responsible way to make sure that we can meet the demand of the retailers, to meet the demand of the consumers. Just, I can't help but think that there are some manufacturers out there that are using the hype to decide even production, that they're taking less risk, and they're using the pre-sales to determine what the actual production is going to be on cigars.
Yeah,
that's something that that's not been acceptable in past, and there are more manufacturers out there that are coming to the trade show, and I've seen this, that they're advertising something coming out, and it won't be out until September, October, November of that year later on. And as long as they're upfront about it, I mean, I think Pete Johnson has things that he puts out and promotes and says they're coming, but he doesn't commit to dates until they're ready to be able to put out there. And look, as a consumer, I want that cigar to be ready to smoke when I get it. I want to be able to smoke the cigar when I receive it. I mean, I'm one of the right off the truck guys, and when I smoke one, I may not smoke them all right off the truck, but I'm definitely going to see where it is in terms of, is the cigar smoke worthy? And then sometimes I'll say, well, that cigar's a little young. I'm going to let it age a little bit. I'm going to let it sit a little bit. But I smoked a couple of cigars, that were clearly not ready to smoke. They were cigars that should never have made it to the box on the shelf in my humidor. And, I get it. It's tough. You're putting so much money at risk by buying the product and putting it out. At some point, you've got to sell them. So, yeah,
it could be a catch-22 for sure, and no manufacturer wants to put out something that's not ready. I just wish manufacturers were more transparent with consumers and with retailers. Honestly, cigars are not usually the delays. Box bans, etc., are the hardest part for McAuliffe. And I know Lou, you and I've talked offline. That's also a pain in the dick. There's a lot of moving parts that consumers don't always think about.
Right.
And so, I get it. I get it. There are going to be delays, like 100%. But just please more transparency from some manufacturers. I think a lot of manufacturers
you get
are
respect
pretty good
from the consumers. You get the consumers can respect that it's a natural product that takes time, and there's all kinds of manufacturing challenges and packaging challenges. Getting boxes made. There's a backlog on the box factories because there's not that many people out there making boxes to get boxes made. I get it. So, at the same point, I think as a consumer, I respect the fact, but don't put a cigar out before it's time.
Holy shit! Nicaragua ran out of a pigment used in one of the bands. It was a pain. Yeah, that would be a pain in the dick. Jesus. there's just so many moving parts. But again, I just feel like if they were more transparent with retailers and consumers, especially when you order online, right? Because these online retailers, and I'm not calling anybody out, I'm not calling anybody the carpet. It is what it is. But when they know something's coming out and they immediately put it up for pre-sale, and then you get stuck holding the bag for 10 months.
Yep.
Yeah, I think that situation hasn't happened to me, but I think if it did, I'd be upset. I'd be, like I understand 30 days, 35 days, somewhere in there, but 10 months, I think I'd be done.
Yeah. Yeah. Real quick before I forget, Scott Childress joined. He works at Boll Weevil, Enterprise, Alabama. He can call it the ugly corner of Lower Alabama all he wants.
I love it.
But Enterprise is a great little town of a little over 30,000 people, and Boll Weevil Fine Cigars is just an absolute fucking Disneyland of cigars. Lou can speak to this as well as I can, but you can go on simplystogies.com. You can check out my review of Boll Weevil Fine Cigars in Enterprise, Alabama, and it is a fantastic shop. And when I walked in at first, I think I even said this in the review, I was a little disappointed because you're looking around, you're like, okay, it's like an old school retail space, and oh, there's the humidor, and it's behind this door, so you don't get to see the whole humidor, and you're just like, oh, okay. And you walk in, and then you see what you couldn't see through the door, and they literally have everything you could ever want, including McAuliffe and Crown Heads and Dunbarton and Roma Craft and you name it, they got it. And you're just like, holy shit, I'm in Cigar Disney World, and it's fantastic, and the staff is great.
It's the largest humidor in Alabama.
I could believe it. It's huge. And I didn't put this in the review, but they've got backstock. They've got a lot of backstock, like a lot. So if you don't see something on the shelf that you might be looking for, you should probably ask, because odds are they probably got it in the back. It's literally the Disney World of fucking cigars, and just the nicest people, Southern hospitality at its best. And they're Central Time Zone, which is best time zone.
Oh my God.
Going back and forth in July to these events for Valakari and for Lure. Like it was you drive like an hour, and like you're in Central Time Zone. You go to drive an hour and you're in Eastern Time Zone. And it's like,
oh wow,
it was hard to keep track of what time it was. I mean, your phone does it for you pretty much automatically, but you're like, oh man, it's like 5 o'clock, and it's like, oh shit, it's 6 o'clock. Like, what the hell happened? Like, where am I?
Coming home, you lose an hour. Going there, you gain an hour, and it's like, oh, it's wonderful. I get to sleep in. I got an 8 o'clock meeting. I don't have to leave until 8 o'clock to get there, right? So
we turn our clocks back or
forward.
This
weekend.
Fucking fall back. Gonna lose that hour.
Looking forward to it.
Are you really?
Yeah.
I'm sorry to hear that. Scott says he just wrapped up a McAuliffe event tonight. It was a great evening. And I told you the red was fire. Scott emailed me, or not, he messaged me on Facebook. And he was like, dude, and I think he showed a picture of him smoking the Rays. Like, you were right. This is really good. I'm like, fuck yeah, it is. So I'm glad he liked it. Heard great things about the event tonight. Thank you. So see, I like this. I like when we've got a retailer and manufacturers on to have relationships
back and forth.
Yeah, I dig that. That's just cool. You're not going to find that on a whole lot of other shows. Just saying. I'm just saying. We're quickly running up on the 2-hour time period, and my internet sucks. And I apologize. Someone's coming out to look at it on Sunday of all days. Have a good night, Dan. Thanks for jumping on and adding to the conversation. We appreciate you, brother. And again, if you're ever looking for a job, if this McAuliffe thing
Tim's not cutting it. So, I mean, if you need something extra to do in your spare time, just go ahead and send an email to info@simplystogies.com. And we'll see what happens. You never know. Maybe the content will even get a little bit better than it already is.
What do you mean little bit?
Okay, a lot better.
Leaps and bounds. We need
leaps and bounds.
Leaps and bounds. I can't say that because the after show is the secret sauce of Simply Stogies, according to
It has its moments, but it is pretty good.
It is pretty good. It is pretty good. If you haven't checked out the after show, make sure you check out the after show. I got 3 minutes here, so real quick, I want to go back because I didn't do this at the top of the second hour, but I want to thank our sponsors for this episode, Lure Cigars. Lou Cross, he started this company to honor his father, and he's done a great job. You can check out the entire line of Lure Cigars. You really should, from the Corojo line, which is the Big Lou and the Little Tony, and to the Habano line, which the Mean Gene Double Matepe. Come on, it's so good. If you haven't tried a Mean Gene yet, what are you doing with your life? Or the Tally Alley or the Holy Coley. And the new Brownie Trout is out. And Lou, there's a rumor. There's a rumor out, my friend, that there might be something new coming just around the corner. Is that true?
What?
Yes, that is coming up. We have a holiday LE that's coming out opposite of the last cast, which was released in June. This one, it will be coming out mid-November. It will be the Jolly Walleye, and it is a salted caramel Habano that is just phenomenal. It's just a really elegant Habano that's got some notes in it that it's a refined smoke, beautiful smoke, and I'm excited about having that come out in a couple weeks.
I was lucky enough to smoke a pre-release, and I sent Lou some tasting notes on it from my Trash Panda palate. And I really enjoyed it. It's so good. So make sure that you're asking for that here in the next couple of weeks. The Jolly Walleye, but the Brownie Trout is out now. Go to your local B&M and ask for Lure Cigars by name. And if they just absolutely refuse, go to lurecigars.com, the contact us page, and there's a whole list of retailers that carry Lure Cigars. Check them out. I also want to thank smallbatchcigar.com. Smallbatchcigar.com. Aficionados know, enthusiasts know, and now you know. Smallbatchcigar.com. Use code Stogies is at the bottom there on the ticker for 10% off your order. Bonus 5% reward points. Always free shipping. It's magical. Get to you quick. And they've got everything. They support small manufacturers. They also support small podcasts now. Smallbatchcigar.com. Aficionados know, enthusiasts know, and now you know. And of course, we wouldn't have even been able to clip our cigars if it hadn't been for Blackbird Cigars. Can't clip my wings. But you can clip our cigars. And so we want to thank Jonas and company at Blackbird. I smoked a Superb during the first hour and a half. Really great cigar. If you haven't tried it, you got to do it. Ecuadorian Habano wrapper over undisclosed binder and fillers. Comes in a Robusto Gordo size and a Toro size. And I really like that Robusto Gordo size. Really great cigar. If you haven't checked out the latest episode of Simply Stogies, you can go check it out. It's out today. It's our interview with Hector Alfonso Sr. from Espinosa Cigars. He talked about his relationship with Eric Espinosa, how he got to know Eric and how he became part of Espinosa Cigars. He talks about the industry. As I lose my voice, it's about that time. Talks about, how he got into the industry, and then he talks about the industry, some of the things in it. Funny guy, down to earth, genuine. It comes through in this interview. I hope you guys enjoy listening to it as much as I enjoyed talking to him. And then, of course, next week, next Friday, the Clear the Air, where we talk about Hector Alfonso Sr. behind his back. Put it out there for everybody to listen to. That's going to be a lot of fun. And then November 15th, we have. Why am I drawing a blank? Who did we interview? Tim, do you remember? Who's coming up next?
Oh my God, you're gonna do that to me. I gotta look at the calendar.
Why can I not remember? Holy shit. Like I got Cigar Genesis on my brain. Like it's a problem.
Was it Enrique Sanchez?
It was Enrique Sanchez. Global Premium Cigars 1502. We had a great conversation with Enrique where he talks a lot about his passion for Nicaragua. And we find out why I am scared of volcanoes in fresh lake sharks.
Water sharks.
Yeah, that's a thing in Nicaragua, along with lots of volcanoes. So, yeah, but great conversation with him. We find out how he started 1502, the passion that he has behind it, the passion he has for Nicaragua. So I invite you to check that out. And then obviously a week after that, Clear the Air, where we'll talk about Enrique Behind His Back, put it out for everybody to listen to. And then, of course, December 1st. The December 1st episode, Small Batch Cigar, will be on. We'll have Andrew and possibly Dave from Small Batch Cigar on. We'll kind of find out how the sausage is made. So I'm really looking forward to that conversation with them. I hope you guys are too. I want to thank Lou, one of our LE supporters, for being on tonight. Lure Cigars, thank you so much, Lou. Always appreciate your perspective and your friendship. You're awesome, my friend.
Thank you. Likewise. Appreciate your time, guys. Always a fun to hang out.
If you would like to hang out with Lou and Tim.
Is Lou trying to replace me too?
I think yes.
I don't want any more.
I want somebody to replace you.
No.
If you want to join the conversation like Lou did tonight, all you got to do is go to simplystogies.com, LE Club, top right corner, click it, join. $10 a month, $100 a year. You can join us the first Friday of every month on this live and have your voice heard. I also want to thank Tim for coming on and half-ass producing this show and writing down. Really, I do. I want to thank him for writing down cigars.
Whatever.
Odds are I will forget it as soon as
I've already deleted it.
Is over. And by the way, this show is over. Thank you so much, guys. Until next time, stay smoky, friends.